So let's talk about this Bulls versus Bucks game. This Bulls versus Bucks game was interesting, two teams in the East, but really what was most interesting was the highlights. This game was a game filled with, surprises. And honestly, I just really want to talk about it because I do believe that it was a game which I got to witness, like a part of it live, and it was fun to watch. So, this game was basically the Bucks just absolutely hammering the Bulls, and I don't say that lightly. Even though they only won by 9 points, if you watch the game, it never really seemed like the Bulls were actually gonna do anything up until maybe like the second quarter when they actually put some points on the board. But even then, Milwaukee always had a pretty sizable lead, and even when the Bulls made a run, the Bucks always responded. It was a terrible game for the Bulls. They shot really inefficiently. Like in this game, they shot 100 shots, and they made 38 of them. Like if you just make half of what you made, right, of what you shot from three and from the field, they would have won this game by a long margin, And the Buck and like this shows because they shot 38% from the field, 33% from three, and even though they made 90% of the free throws, let's be honest, what is making 90% of your free throws when you can't even make a three-pointer if you wanted to? With the Bucks, they shot much less. They shot 89 shots and they made 42 of them. They didn't have the best efficiency, but it was pretty good, And the real reason why the Bucks won was Giannis. I do want to say something, and this is mostly the reason why I want to talk about this game, is that Dame and Giannis don't work unless you have a defensive shooting guard, which I'm waiting for them to make a trade. This does not work at all, and I'm just sorry to anyone who thought that this would work. Like, yes, they're gonna have a good record and they're gonna win a lot of games, but they're not gonna make this work. Like winning a championship with this team is purely predicated on that somebody from the bench, from the bad players, from the bad news bears, steps up and can play some good defense, or the fact that they make a trade. As we know, Milwaukee's very iffy about making trades. Giannis asked for this trade for years, and he didn't get it until it was like the perfect time. So Milwaukee takes their time to do things, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know what you think about that, but I do believe that this Dame and Giannis experiment is just completely failing. Like, yeah, they're 6-4, but if they keep going like this, they might be, a worse team, than they were last year, right? Because if we're being honest, look, and let's be for real, Giannis and Dame are two players which really complement each other offensively. The way that they play, the way that they set up each other, the way that they really have that ability of making things work is impressive, and it's almost scary how good they are offensively. But defensively, they don't complement each other at all. And that is the biggest problem with this Dame and Giannis situation. They're two players, they're great, and you could put them wherever you want. But they're not going to work in terms of playing defense because there was a stat which I think was, like a player's, personal defensive rating. And Damian Lillard was like 50 points under James Harden or like Chris Paul. And I know that Chris Paul plays defense, but, he's pretty bad now. He's pretty mid now because he's old. And it just seems like, like a guy like Dame, right, just can't figure it out I don't think he should bulk up. I don't think he should slim down. I don't even think anything has to happen to his body or his way of playing. I just think that his mentality has to change. Because look, if we're being honest, his way of playing is just indicative of his mentality. You know, Dame has a score first mentality, and on defense, he could give a thinking about the repercussions of his actions. He needs to start putting in effort on defense because I'm not even asking the dude to play good defense. You don't have to. Just put in effort. Stay in front of your man. Do your sets and make sure that you actually try. And that's all the Bucks ask for you. They're not asking for you to be great on defense. They traded for you. They know what you bring. But at least now that you're on a championship team, a team which could actually do something for itself and actually propel itself to a better place, please, Dame, try. Just try. Getting back to this game, not to ramble on too much. I'm going to keep talking about that. But DeRozan and Levine played terribly. Nikola Vucevic had a great game, but this game was just mostly after you put in enough shots up, they're gonna go in. And shout out to Pat Williams. He had a pretty good game. Like a really all-around great game. I do believe that he shined this game, but on a losing, tandem, it's kind of hard, especially the way that they lost. Right? And also for the Bucks, for the winning team, I do believe that it was all predicated on Giannis. And this is where I'm really mad. Dame this game had 12 points. He shot terribly. I'm not even going to read off his percentages. And he had 5 assists and 3 rebounds with 5 turnovers. He had a 1 assist to turnover ratio, right? He had 3 rebounds, and shout out to the fact that he had 2 offensive rebounds. And then he shot terribly. And apart from doing all of this, right, he did not play good defense, right? Like his defender, the person who he's supposed to be defending, which is Kobe White, was the second best player, if not the best player, on the Bulls when it comes to efficiency, right? And if we're being honest, Damian Lillard, it was not good. And the reason why they won this game was because Giannis had to drop 35 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists on great efficiency. He even made a 3. And Malik Beasley played great. Chris Middleton, played actually really well, making 60% of his shots and barely even missing a 2-pointer. And Brook Lopez played also really well. But looking at this lineup, and shout out to Bobby Portis too, he played amazingly off the bench. But looking at this lineup, it's like Dame did not contribute. And this is my problem. You see, with a lot of stars, like Dame and like like Dame, like Jordan Poole, like Pascal Siakam, there has to be a way for these guys, and I mean like really one-dimensional guys, to score or to do something effective when they're not scoring. And in my opinion, Dame has to figure that out. That if you're not going to have a good game, you at least need to be effective in some way. Yes, you might not drop 30 every game. We know. But at least play make, right? If you start off shooting badly, just go pass it to your teammates, move that ball around, get 10 assists, 12 assists, right? Because we know it's in your bag. It's like you hold the ball the most out of anyone on the Bucks not named Giannis. And if maybe you're having a great game, then keep shooting it. But yeah, I'm just mad that Dame is playing like this. I do believe that he's a real negative to his team. And I do also, let me get into that too. Why is Dame being a score-first guard on a team which doesn't have a playmaker, right? I'm looking at this team right now, and they do not have a clear playmaker not called Dame. And that's why they had Drew. I don't want to say this too early, but right now, as it stands, it is looking really bad, if we're being honest, for the Bucks and the fact that they made this trade. But I don't want to be too early on it. Don't want to hate too much. I'm gonna just keep it pushing and see where this team lands, you know. But anyway, yeah. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, subscribe and tune into the next one. Peace.